So what I'm doing here is I made a lamp. There's a floating thing there and a little disc of aluminum oxide that I use for grinding on things. That one's a little more solid than this one. That's why that one's in there. But I think I'm gonna use these. These will work just fine. Um, and then I've got some a sheet of foam, foam in there, and I actually used this as my pattern. Put it on there, and I just cut it with some scissors. And what you can do is poke a hole through this and your thing. And I tried a cotton string. I didn't get much luck with it. It didn't seem to wick very well. It didn't pull the oil up. Um, and so what I used was my hemp fiber. Okay, and this looks kind of brownish green because they got something on it. But when you get really close, it's okay. Hold still. It's kind of silvery colored. Do you see what I mean? That's not like a coating or anything. That's the fibers themselves. And I've seen these and combed out to the very smallest little fibers, and we can't even see them. They're almost microscopic. They are microscopic, and they comb them out, and it looks like silver elf hair. Okay, and these are really, really long fibers. They can go all the way from the root to the top of the plant. And it's the veins, and that's what you see here, the way they make rope and string and stuff, just pulling those veins out. Um, and there were old-fashioned ways of doing it, and then a guy came up with a thing called see, I was experimenting. Um, Called a decorticator in I think 1906, and it's just like a roller thing, right? That squeezes all the juices and all the cellulose out of the fibers, which it probably takes a couple of goes. There's a lot of juice in there because the entire plant is filled with oil, and that's what's there in the bottom. That's hemp seed oil. And I put a little clove in there to make it smell nice in here, and it does. Does it smell nice, Joe? She said, mm-hmm. She's never sure whether I'm talking to her or making videos. Okay, so look how bright that flame is. Now, have you ever burned the petroleum, like kerosene? Hmm? Kerosene lamp. If you don't put look at the heat coming off of it. See that? If you don't put a chimney on it and adjust it and all that, and they've got little air things to make the flame better, and then it starts burning better. Okay, this is just sitting there, man. I don't know if I can get close enough. There you go. I got it out in the middle where it's not, gonna touch the other oil. and where it's not going to touch the jar. These are mason jars, right? So they can take the heat, no worries. And you can buy them at Walmart or Amazon or whatever, and by the dozen. Okay, so you can make these little lamps, and you know what I've done here is this is now a vaporizer, and I can put essential oils in like eucalyptus and keep the bugs away from where I sleep, and have a nice lamp that will burn all night. That'll burn all night long. Because you know what? This is what people used for before petroleum oil. Right? Petroleum oil was in the 1890s. Hey, hey. And people that didn't have like fish oil and walrus oil and stuff, whale oil, and we don't really want to have those, the whale oil and walrus oil and stuff. We like them alive, right? We do. I do anyway. And these plants are annual plants. They make seeds in great abundance so that the critters that eat the seeds spread their genetics around, because not all the seeds get eaten and they get scattered. Cannabis, when you start it growing in a clump, is self-seeding, which means you can harvest it when it goes to seed for the seeds. And as you're harvesting it, it drops a few and it comes back the next year and the next year. And if you just let the old leaves drop to the ground, when you harvest, you've got a bunch of compost that you turn back into the soil. And it's got everything those plants need, especially if you grow it with Papaver somniferum. Right? They grow like companion planting because, see, cannabis doesn't use bee-type flowers. No? Poppies do. Poppies do. And when we get honey from poppies that have been grown with cannabis, that honey has all the raw cannabinoids and opioids our bodies need to live. It's food. That's where we get it from. Poppy seeds and cannabis oil. This oil here, the hemp seed oil, it's the seed, and it doesn't have to be hemp now, it can be any kind of cannabis you want, but you let it go to seed. Because seeds are good, not bad. Only our benevolent government thinks seeds are bad. And they've convinced all of you that seeds are bad and that we need feminized cannabis seeds and other happy horse feathers. Because what we want to do is spread the genetics of the ones we like the way they're supposed to be spread. And when you grow those two plants together, you don't even have to till the soil. You just turn it in each year and it grows in that soil the next year better and better each year. Because it's all we need for all the things we need to live. Cannabis can be made, cannabis oils can be made into anything. I can make anything we manufacture today from the oils and cellulose and fibers of cannabis. It's like a great big huge green oil well. And the fibers are way better than cotton, man. You know why our benevolent government wanted it? Most people in the United States didn't even know what marijuana was, because you know what? They made up the word. It's not a word the Mexican folks use, or the Spanish-speaking folks. They call it mota. Mota. And or did. Maybe they call it marijuana now, but when I was young, and I was once, and I was growing it over on the back side of the mountain behind where my dad had a little flower farm when he retired from blowing up evil East Germans and Poles. And I'd walk over there and take care of my plants and come back, and I'd talking with the guys that were working in my dad's farm, because I was too, and that's what they called it, mota. And it's not a new thing. It's ancient. Every wooden sailing ship that ever sailed the seas was half cannabis. All the sails, all the ropes, and every board between the decking and the hull had the fibers of cannabis between them, because they swell and they seal the hull. They make it waterproof. Only cannabis does that. Only cannabis. Other stuff rots in salt water, but not cannabis. If you go to a dock and you look where ships tie up, they still use cannabis ropes to tie to the dock. Every birdseed package that you've ever seen is about half cannabis seeds, because birds prefer cannabis seeds over anything else. Seed-eating birds will fly 1,000,000 miles to eat cannabis seeds, because our bodies, all of our bodies, everybody on this whole planet, from the little nematodes and bacteria in our soil to you and me, use cannabinoids and opioids to bridge the gap between nerve cells. They are not extra. They're not optional. Our body doesn't work without them. This stuff right here can feed everybody on the planet. I can use poppy seeds and this oil and feed everybody on the planet and make it taste exactly like whatever you want. Whatever you want, from bubblegum to filet mignon, okay? And I may have to make the wick last a little longer. What do you think? That was pretty good. I think I did good, man.